everyone, this is Brittnee Bond, and welcome back to the podcast. Ooh, okay, so today I would like to talk about relationships and how they've evolved and how we can have a relationship today romantically in a way where we actually feel fulfilled and excited and more inspired and activated, all the beautiful things, right? So I've been really feeling into this a lot lately because a lot of you message me and you ask me like, oh, Brittnee, I noticed that you are exploring all these different types of relationships, and I know you do relationship coaching and all this stuff. So, what they're really asking me is like, what is the best way to have a healthy relationship for them? And this is what I find to be super interesting today in like the world that we live in is that, okay, I'm going to break something down for you so you can understand the context of what I'm about to say. We have lived as a society. There's like construction near my house. Sorry about that. We live as a society for thousands of years. Basically since, I'm going to go super metaphysical here. Since the Atlantis times, we have decided to explore the idea of separation from knowing that we are all connected and knowing that we are connected to Source, God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. So in that exploration of separation in relationships, we have utilized the masculine and feminine dynamics in order to feel more whole. This is why when there's all these like pop songs today about like the two become one, I'm just going to quote Spice Girls right now. But basically it's this idea that so many of us are actually seeking our connection to the divine, to Source, to God, the universe, through a romantic partnership. There's nothing wrong with this. We've been doing this for thousands of years. The thing is that right now in our last couple hundred years of our psyche as a mass consciousness, as a human species, we've realized, we started to wake up basically, that we all have our individual connection to Source and that each one of us have masculine and feminine energy inside of us. So yes, I am a woman. I am choosing to be born as a woman. My soul chose to be born as a woman. I choose to lead in my feminine energy in this lifetime. And of course, for me personally, I choose to partner with a person who is a male body, who is leading in their masculine energy. That is what feels good for me. That doesn't mean that's what's going to feel good for you if you're a woman and you want to, like, this is what I'm trying to break down for you, is that right now, each one of us has the opportunity to realize that we have masculine and feminine energy inside of us and that each one of us has a connection to Source. Some of you asked me in my last podcast, what does it mean? How do you know that you are connected to Source? How do you know you're connected to God, the universe, something bigger than you? And that's a very good question. For me, it's this deep inner knowingness that I am connected to something bigger than myself. Excuse me, that I'm connected to something bigger than myself and that I don't have to figure it out on my own. That I can relax and rest in the idea and the knowingness that I am always taken care of and that everything's working out for me. And when I'm in that knowingness, I start to see it externally reflected. So it all starts with our inner choice to believe that we are worthy of love and connection and there is something bigger than us out there that loves us. And that we're not separate from everything that's happening around us, from the people around us, from the nature around us, from society around us. Like everything is interconnected. Yes, we are an individual being. We're an individual soul in this lifetime. But we have a connection to Source and we also have a connection to everything else around us. And when we're allowing this to be and we're in this knowingness that it's a positive thing and we're allowing the energy to move through us, this is when you know that you are connected. It's when you feel, some people call it being in flow. It's like, I call it being like vibing with life, because you're just like, you're flowing throughout your day and you're just like, in this really receptive and giving energy. So this is the balance of your masculine and your feminine energy where you're like receptive to beautiful things, magic, abundance, everything coming into your life that you could ever dream of. And you're also giving love and connection and abundance. You're giving. So it's a give and take. This is the being in the flow of like, I'm going to shine my light on the world and I'm going to share my high vibration. I'm just going to be excited. I'm going to allow myself to be excited about life. And then I'm going to, share this with all this yummy energy with everyone around me. And at the same time, I'm receptive to the universe and whoever is going to show up in my life to receive this health, wealth, abundance, happiness, whatever is on offer that day. I was watching on Instagram recently where this girl says, like, I just decide in the morning that today is the best day ever. And then I just go throughout my day looking for ways how that is true. And this is such a good opportunity. It's like what you focus on expands, So if you're going around like believing that this is the best day ever and that you deserve everything in your life to be amazing, then this is what's going to be attracted into you, and this is what you're going to notice. Okay, I got a little tangential here. So what I wanted to say is that about relationships. So a lot of you come to me and you ask me, what is a healthy relationship for me? And what I wanted to tell you is that this is a time where we have gone from one extreme of believing that we needed each other in order to feel this oneness with God or the universe or source. So if I'm a woman, then traditionally in the past, it's been like, I can only do feminine things and I need to have a man to be able to do the external masculine things in my life. And this can still work polarity wise for some people, right? So I'm not knocking that. But I do want to acknowledge that in the last, especially 100 years, we as a mass consciousness have started to wake up to the idea that each one of us is complete within ourselves to have this connection to source. So each one of us has masculine and feminine energy in us. We don't need someone else to complete us. Just going to pause there for a second. You do not need anyone else to complete you. You do not need anyone else to feel connected to the universe, to source, to your life. You are complete within yourself. You have all of the tools, all of the resources, all of the energy that you need to build your life out and to thrive in your life, not just survive, to thrive. Okay? So a lot of people are going, I don't want to say the other extreme, but they're swinging full momentum into the other direction of, we need each other to complete each other, to feel complete, to I don't need anyone. I'm good on my own. And what I want to say here is that I don't believe it needs, at least within my own psyche, within my own belief system, so please take this all with a grain of salt, as I'm sure you all do. I don't believe that it needs to be one extreme or the other. So one extreme of the I need you in order to complete me, this is codependence. This is my baseline survival needs of like happiness, safety, and just like, everything's okay in my life and feeling connected to myself and the universe. I need you in order for me to do that. This is what a lot of like traditional love has been about for many thousands of years. That's codependence. I don't necessarily think that's healthy. And then the other extreme is I don't need anyone. So I'm super hyper independent. And you see this with a lot of, especially men, but also women. But I would say that in the last 100 years, you would see this a lot with a lot of men who are just like, I don't need anyone. I'm doing my thing. Like, everything's great. I don't need to depend on anyone. I don't I don't need anything from anyone. I'm just going to go take care of myself. And in just the last, I would say 20 and 30 years, you see a lot of women also in this energy, especially as women are being able to make the same amount of money as men, be able to take care of themselves in the same way that men would traditionally take care of women in the past. And what I've noticed, and I also coach a lot of people who are in this hyper independence, is that they're equally not super happy. Yes, they have proven to themselves, and I think this is actually really important to prove to yourself that you can thrive on your own and that you don't need anyone else in your life in order to create a positive, beautiful life for yourself. But there's a word that I want to enter into your psyche if you haven't already heard of it, and it's called interdependence. So what this means is I don't need you in order to complete me, but I choose. I have proven to myself that I can take care of myself and I can thrive in my own in this life. And also I choose to allow you to show up for me and to depend on you in certain ways. So I'm choosing to be on the same team as you. And this is what interdependence is like, I don't need you to show up for me, but I'm allowing you to show up for me. And in order to, and because I'm allowing you to show up for me, we are building trust with each other. We're building interdependence. Like we're like, you take this task, I'm going to take this task, and together we are stronger because we're tag teaming things together. And from a polarity standpoint within relationships, this is now showing up as what I see in the world. Is it doesn't actually matter if you're a man or a woman in this type of polarity balance. So this is where you see a lot of same-sex relationships, because it doesn't actually matter anymore if you're a man or a woman. It's just like, if we're truly interdependent on each other, you know, we all have masculine and feminine energy in all of us. So it's just more of the matter of like, words. In what way am I going to show up in the situation? Am I going to show up more my masculine or my feminine energy? And then my partner, you know, they can be a polarity complement to that. So in some situations, you know, if it's a same sex, say two women who are dating each other or married to each other, you know, there might be a situation where one of them chooses to take more of the masculine, traditional masculine role of handling things in the 3D and making decisions and being focused and all this stuff. Whereas the other one in that specific situation might take more of the feminine role, which is being receptive and being more in their body and like, you know, just receiving and flowing with what's happening. And then a different situation, they could totally flip and choose to have the other polarity, you know, where the other one's taking the lead and the other one's more receptive and following. And this is what's beautiful about today, is that it's literally pick your adventure. And I find that this is going to be, at least in the next like 50 to 100 years, it's going to be kind of this, there's no cookie cutter way to have a relationship. And for some people who are used to someone telling them what to do, this is going to feel like chaos for a lot of you. Because you're like, I don't know what's healthy. No one's like, you know, I don't have my religion or society or my friends or my parents telling me this is what's healthy. Like, oh, wait, I have to figure it out for myself. It's like, yes, you are a sovereign being. I believe in you. You can take care of yourself and you can figure out what is the best way for you to have some sort of relationship romantically. And the relationship that I am highly recommending is one for you to figure out what it means for you to be thriving in your own life on your own first. So, excuse me. Well, let me get some water. I invite you to take a deep breath while I drink some water. I'll give you an example, okay? So, within my life, I have dated a lot of... my dad, growing up, my dad had cancer when I was younger, and he was a construction worker in California where, you know, there is no universal health care. And so we had very little money when my dad was in the hospital. If anything, we were on what is called food stamps in the States, where the government gives you like coupons to go get free food, because we couldn't afford to have food. It was my mom and I have two sisters. So it was like 3 little girls, my dad in the hospital. We didn't know if he was going to live or not. You know, it was very, very stressful. And my dad was there in that constellation with my mom and us, was in the traditional male provider role. So he didn't want my mom to work, even though, you know, she did have a job when they got together, you know, and she did work, and she's very smart and can do all the things. But he was like, you know, I just want us to be able to have a family, and I want you to be able to stay home with the kids and all this stuff. My mom loves being a mom, so she was happy to be in that role. So it was a role that was working for everyone, right? Suddenly my dad had to be in the hospital and my mom needed to go to work. And so she got a job, and we were like, you know, shuffled around within my religious community, everyone was watching us and helping us and everything. So my mom got this taste of what it felt like to be taking care of the family, and I think she actually liked it in some ways, like at least the feeling of freedom and, you know, she's accomplishing something. And then my dad got better, and he ended up starting a construction company, whereas at the economy in the States at that time in California, it was a very good decision because it was booming. And so suddenly we went from having absolutely no money to, I remember my mom even taking us to like the secondhand store so we could like play with the toys, but we couldn't even afford to buy a toy. Like that's how much little money we had. And I remember like one of my earliest memories is me trying to convince my little sister to not ask my mom if we could buy the toys, because my mom would cry again. But then my little sister was crying 'cause she didn't have the toy. And I just remember being like trying to figure out how to take care of everyone. And I was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 at this time. Yeah, it was a very stressful time. And this is also, the reason why I'm bringing this story up is that because my dad ended up having a lot of money, and we went from having no money to living in a gated community in one of the richest neighborhoods in Northern California within the span of like 2 years. So I was able to see what it felt like to have nothing and what it felt like to have a lot of financial and material abundance. And also what it just felt like to have a family who was like showing up for each other and doing the best they could, and like a religious community that was showing up for us. And I learned a lot of things about money during this situation. I also learned a lot of things about interdependence because we were in a very rough moment in my family's history, and everyone in our community showed up for us, and my mom really stepped up, and all of us kids, I don't know, we were just kids. We did the best we could, right? But what I wanted to say is this has affected my my interdependence here as an adult, because I recognize within myself, there's 2 things. This is a very vulnerable thing for me to share. First off, I just want to just put that disclaimer out for myself because, anyways, so one is that I had this negative belief that was started that I needed to take care of everyone around me, whether it was financially or, emotionally. And the second one was that if a man shows up for me, like there was this rhythm that it was almost like, we attract in things that happen to us as a kid in order to have like traumatic things in order to have a positive outcome. And so the loop that I was attracting into myself within my romantic partners was that they would end up having, I would date someone and they would have a lot of money. And then in our relationship, in some way, they would either need to be taken care of financially or emotionally or psychologically. And so this has played out in a couple of my major relationships where they went through high financial crisis, or they went to psychosis, or, they just needed help in some way. And I think this was because I was attracting in men that were in some ways unstable, because I wanted to create this environment within myself where I could get close enough to the trauma that I had as a kid and then allow myself to have a more positive outcome. But when you are aware of these things, you start recognizing that some of this is not healthy. So what I want to say is that because of what happened as a kid, there was some codependence that was created. Because I was a child, I wasn't able to when we were in financial crisis and health crisis with my dad, I wasn't able to actually do anything to help. I was a child. So I remember even this is where I ended up getting sexually molested by my neighbor because I was trying to help make money for my family. And my neighbor was like, I will pay you $50 to mow my lawn. And it's this old British man. And then he ended up molesting me while this was happening. He would have me over, and then while I was over there, he would end up sexually molesting me. But then he would give me $50. So there was a lot of weird stuff that happened in my psyche around men and money. And what I'm recognizing now is a lot of this was also related to codependence, because at the time, my primary person in my life, my dad, who was supposed to be responsible, or he had chosen to be responsible to take care of us financially, couldn't do it anymore. And we also had so many bills because of his health care that we had to give, that didn't matter how much my mom worked. We were always going to be in debt unless my dad got better. And so what I was attracting in was men where there was some codependence, either emotionally, financially, or otherwise, within our dynamic initially. Like, we were codependent on each other for certain things. And this happened in my last 3 relationships. And then once I recognized this consciously, I was like doing my best to, step out of it or to heal it. And it wasn't able to be healed within the romantic confines, or the romantic dynamic. But what I'm recognizing now that I have done my own inner healing is I needed to go out on my own and have the lifestyle. This is the whole point of why I'm trying to share all of those stories, is that I had to go out on my own and decide, what is the standard of living that I want? And am I able to give this to myself without needing a partner, so that there's no codependence in the future when I choose to be with a partner? Because I'm actually already showing myself that I can rely on myself and that I can create a lifestyle for myself that creates, where I'm thriving, not just surviving, right? And so after my last breakup, this is what I chose to do. Like, I have been in relationships pretty continuously since I was 18. And so there was also just not many moments where I was able to prove to myself that I could take care of myself on my own. So it almost created this belief that I needed men around in order to live the life that I wanted. But it was more just because I didn't give myself the space to prove it to myself. So there was just always someone around. And I'm grateful for all the men in my life that have come through and created pleasure and love and a connection and abundance for me. And also there was something in me that always felt a little bit controlled, a little bit and it wasn't even because of them. It was because I hadn't proven it to myself that I could do it on my own. And this is so important, especially for us women, to be able to create the life that we want for ourselves first. And this doesn't mean that you need to go out and get a villa like I did. It doesn't mean that you need to, have $1 million or, whatever it is. It doesn't, these could be goals that you have, but that doesn't mean you need to accomplish all your goals before you allow love in. I'm just saying there should be a baseline standard of living that you can accomplish on your own for yourself, where you feel like, yes, I'm thriving. Like I am, a solo being in this universe who's creating a beautiful life for themselves. And then when you meet someone else, you're able to allow them to come into this beautiful bubble of a reality that you've created and add to it and make it even more abundant and more lush and more connected and more everything, And so for me, this is what I've done here is I manifested this beautiful villa. You guys, I don't know if you understand how big this house is. Even for me, it's a little big. But I really wanted to have a place where I could host my community events. And so this has been such a beautiful home for that, because the upstairs, my room up here where I'm recording this podcast right now, is basically like its own apartment. Like I have a huge upstairs room that has like a wraparound balcony, and I wake up and I overlook the sea and the trees, and it's just so, so beautiful. And then downstairs, I can be having an entire event going on, and I can have my own little world up here. For me, that's always been my dream, is to have a space where I can have events and also have my own space in the same bubble of what's happening, right? So I am sharing this with you because I really want to invite you and activate you to create the life that you want for yourself first, and then to allow people into your life in a healthy interdependence way, and to figure out what works best for each of you and how you want to show up as a team for each other. So for me, I know that as a woman, Brittnee Bond, as a woman who is choosing to lead in her feminine, is very excited and very inviting of a masculine life partner who is leading in their masculine energy. A man who is leading their masculine energy. And for us to be on the same team of how we choose to co-create our lives together. And that's going to be a conversation for, me and this person, and for each of you who are excited to, have a life partner or dating someone or just figuring out how you want to be in a relationship. What I'm trying to download to you is that each person that you connect with is going to be a different constellation. It's going to be a different dynamic between you and them. So you got to talk about it. You need to be on the same team. You need to choose to work on the same team with each other. And to ask each other, how do we want to show up, within this dynamic? How do you want the polarity to work? How do you, so I was just talking to some of my guy friends last week, and we were talking about what does it mean to be in a relationship? Because I was realizing that for me, I really enjoy when a man takes responsibility for making my life better, just because I do that for them. But it's interesting because there was very specific ways of how that showed up for me. And for me, it was about creating physical containment is what I call it. So using their energy to show up for me in the physical, to protect, to provide, to create safety for me, and to just make my life better in the physical reality. And I choose to create containment for my partner or the men in my life by creating safety for them emotionally, by taking the lead emotionally and spiritually. And this is what I love, and this doesn't mean this is what all women should do or this is what you should do. This is just like what I have found to be a beautiful polarity match for me and whoever I am partnering with. Like, I choose to have the men in my life be able to have emotionally in-depth conversations and have some sort of spiritual connection, but I'm happy to be the one who's like leading on these things and inviting them and creating safety for them. And I really like it when a man does this for me in the physical world. And that's this is what I wanted to share with you, that this is like this is what you need to figure out for yourself, is like, what do you want out of a relationship? Not like, what does society tell you that you should have? Of course, you need to have like basic foundational self-respect and people showing up for each other and honoring each other and loving each other. Like, that's like kind of a no-brainer. But like something I have found, and this is what I really love to coach men on, is a lot of men do want to be in this role of creating safety and containment for the feminine in the physical, but a lot of them haven't been given, or they feel like they haven't been given the permission to do this. And this is something I talk with a lot of you beautiful men about, is in creating ways for you to feel safe to take up space in the women's lives that you love in a way that is actually honoring them and that they feel empowered by. Because there is a lot of what we have in today's culture where it's super hyper independent, where in some cultures, it's not so much in California where I grew up, but in other parts of the States and in a lot of more, I would say, like progressive European countries, like England or Germany or Switzerland, like these ones, it's like everyone splits the bill, or, everything's equal across the board financially. I'm talking about things in the physical realm. This is also on the East Coast sometimes as well, the States. And I've had men tell me that like the women in their lives feel almost offended when they try and pay for things, or that or there's a fear that it means something, like, you bought me dinner and so now I have to sleep with you. And the men that I coach and that I talk to, they're like, I don't expect anything from it except for just to a thank you, maybe, like it's not a manipulation is what I'm trying to say, or a way to gain something back. It's because they just love you and they want to show up for you and provide for you. And it actually, for men who want to lead in their masculine energy, it actually gives them more energy when they pick the women in their lives that they want to show up for and take responsibility for. And they use their energy to create safety and protection and make the women's lives easier by using their physical energy in their lives, in the women's lives. And it increases feminine energy for women who are choosing to lead in their feminine energy to be receptive to this, and to be, all you have to do is be appreciative. It doesn't mean that you owe them anything. All it means is that you are allowing them to show up for you, and receiving this energy in your body of like, wow, someone wants to take care of me and protect me and provide for me in whatever way that can be. That can be, them getting new flowers, or I was just checking the time because my friend Roy is coming over right now to help me organize my online content and like get inspired and creative, and just kind of help me focus my energy so I can create more beautiful things for all of you and inspire you. And this is him using his masculine energy to show up in my life. He's also bringing me a matcha latte, which I am very grateful for. And that's also using his masculine energy to like buy something for me and pick it up for me and bring it to me. And these are all things that make me feel really good in my body and more in my feminine and more receptive to like, wow, the universe has my back, and he's using this beautiful men to show up for me. Like, this is an example of like God, the universe's source, like showing up for me. Wow, it makes me want to cry. But like, what if each one of us could literally allow ourselves to be these sparks of God, universe, source, by allowing ourselves to women, for us to receive and to appreciate and admire the men in our lives, and to create safety for them emotionally, and to help lead spiritually, and like share our downloads with them and our intuition and how it feels in our body. This is spirit talking to us. We have a direct connection to source. And for the men in our lives, for the men, how beautiful is it to like literally be like these divine masculines who are showing up for all the women that you love in your life, and creating safety for them and protecting them and providing for them, and them to look at you like, wow, you are amazing. I'm so grateful that you're in my life. I'm so great. You're like healing things for me when it comes to the masculine, just by how you show up in my life. It's really beautiful. I wanted to read a comment that one of you wrote to finish this. You said, I really appreciate you talking about relationship stuff. And you said, I find the idea of solo poly resonates with, this is this person writing, I find the idea of solo poly resonates with me the most right now, at least just friends with benefits. However, I do my best to fully communicate my framework of how I want the relationship to go and what my authentic excitement is, and also the process I'm in as a person who's actively changing and awakening. Always it can be safe. Basically, they're saying that they communicate what they want, that they're not ready to be in a monogamous relationship, and also that they're open to having intimacy of friends, like friends who show up for each other in their lives, and who use their masculine and feminine energy to protect and provide and to receive and to feel yummy in our bodies and all these things. But basically, the question that this person was asking is like, is this, she said, one piece of excitement formula is that always, one piece of the excitement formula that isn't always communicated is acting on your excitement with integrity, which isn't just in the moral sense, but in the literal sense of acting with integration in mind, acting with the awareness that we are all aspects of the same central self, and that we are all source, and therefore acting with positive intention to integrate. All of that means you will be honest if following your excitement with integrity, because you want to respect the sanctity of others' trust and frameworks, because integration requires including and uplifting all of the self, the positive, neutral, negative, and holding them in unconditional love. You can't do that purely when something of that importance is being invalidated or ignored. and then she talked about, I don't really know the whole story of you and your ex, but still I love that journey being shared. It has helped me clarify where I stand in my moments like this and how I can show up the best way when I'm generally choosing to connect with someone intimately. So what I'm taking away from this comment, first off, thank you for sharing this. I love your guys' comments. And I'm like really always inspired and activated myself reading your comments and seeing how much you are directly connected to source yourself. And we're all just like reflecting this back and forth to each other. Because what this one was sharing is basically when you have a high level of consciousness, you understand that we are all connected. In spirit, we're actually, when you go like, I don't know how many levels back, we're all actually one soul that's just been fractaled out, and we're here having these individual experiences. But when we go back to source, of course we have our soul families, and that's like one. So saying our soul is a hand, right? The soul of all of us combined. And then like one finger is one of our soul families. And then we're just like the little tip of the finger of this individual soul that's having this timeline right now. But we're all connected in the big hand of, I don't know, the oneness, the all that is. And when you realize this from, she's talking about from an integration level, when you're connecting to other people, you realize that in some way we're all connected. We're all part of the same soul. When you go, how many timelines back, how many fractals backwards. It's hard to put this into words, metaphysics, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Is that when you are, even if you are choosing right now to not be in a relationship, even if you're choosing to be, so solo poly means that you don't want to date anyone, you're dating yourself. So this is where a lot of people go through this relationship phase. I'll call it a phase because we're always going in and out of phases all the time, even myself. They go through this type of relationship phase in order to really come into full completeness within themselves. And this is what I was talking about, like when you realize like you are connected to source yourself, you have the masculine and feminine energy within yourself. So you don't need to be in deep connection to other people because you're plugged into source yourself, right? And that doesn't mean so say you're solo poly, you're like, I'm dating myself, I am my primary partner, but you can still be in connection to other people. And what this woman was saying was that she was like, what's important for me is to be communicative because one, I recognize we're all connected, and two, in order for us to create more connection from a soul level instead of more disconnection or more integration, you know, where we're all connected, we're coming home to ourselves, we're coming home to source, we're coming home to God, is that I recognize that if I'm going to act within my integrity, then I'm supporting not just myself, but the whole collective. Because it's like literally less energy that we have to clean up as a mass consciousness later on. The more of us that are choosing to act within our integrity. And choosing to act within your integrity is to over-communicate and to share with everyone that you're connected with romantically, this is where I'm at, this is who else I'm connecting to, this is what I'm looking for in a relationship, and this is how we can work on the same team in order to create more connection or pleasure or whatever it is that you're looking for. And this takes, first off, a lot of honesty within yourself in order to understand, because like we're changing at every moment, right? So like it just takes a lot of self-honesty to be able to recognize what you personally want and need within yourself in that moment. And then it takes a lot of bravery and courage to speak up for it and to be like, this is what I want. I don't know if this is what you want, but this is what I want. And maybe it's going to create more connection, or maybe it's going to create more disconnection. I don't know, you know, but I'm here for it. And I think that's really all we can ask for in relationships, is to be completely honest and to share with other people from love and a place of centeredness. And when you're really in this place of grounded centeredness and recognizing that everything is happening for you and that this person is coming into your life for some reason, even if it's to heal a negative belief, even if it's not necessarily feels good in the present moment, but in the end, you're going to come out of the situation more whole and more complete and more trusting of yourself and the universe. That's really beautiful. That's something to be honored. But the only way you're going to be able to move through that in a way where you are coming out of it more empowered is to be really honest with yourself of what you need, and also to be really centered and grounded in the trust that everything is happening for you, and that even if someone is treating you in a way that doesn't feel good and that isn't respectful of who you are, you have the opportunity to walk away. You have the opportunity to speak up for yourself. Everything is an opportunity for us to become more fully complete within ourselves and more connected to source and more allowing the universal energy down through us. And something I want to leave you with is that the more that we can relax into this trust and into this knowingness that everything is happening for us, the more that everything will actually happen for us. This is it sounds oxymoronic. It sounds like it's something that's contradictory, but it's because literally imagine your body is a vessel of universal energy to go through. And the more that you are relaxed, the more that you are open, the more that you are feeling safe to receive this energy in whatever way it wants to come, the more it's going to come through your life and give you everything you desire. And the more that you're in fear and the more that you're constricted, the less it's going to be able to come through this energy. Just imagine it's as warm golden energy going through your body. So so how do you allow that to happen? Well, listening to stuff like this, like for me, even this morning, I was listening to, there's a really beautiful audiobook on YouTube I highly recommend. It's called The Game of Life and How to Play It. And it's by a woman called Florence Scovel Sheen. She's dead now, but she lived in the United States in the 20s, in the 1920s. And so I listened to it this morning and it just helps me get in this vibration of like receptivity and everything's working out and I can receive love and abundance and connection and just trust, And when you're allowing yourself to be that free and like in that knowingness, then it gets externally reflected. And that's really beautiful. Okay, I feel like I went on a lot of tangents today. There's a lot of things happening in my 3D world that I have not shared online, but I will share soon enough when everything gets worked through. But send your positive energy that everything is working out in my world, as I know it is. Like, it's so funny to share this with you and just be like, yeah, the things are not working. But there's always things that are like up in the air because I'm someone who's always taking risks because I fully trust that the universe has my back. And I fully trust that everything's happening for me. And when you are in that knowingness, you play the game of life at a higher level. And that's really exciting. And also sometimes scary. And also sometimes way more exciting than just sitting on your butt, So that's where I'm at. But I hope that this helped to clarify some points for you about how to be in a relationship. The main thing I want you to take away is that as long as you're communicating what your needs are and you're being honest with yourself of what you need in order to have a healthy relationship, then you will be able to create whatever one that feels good for you. And that relying on people is actually a positive thing as long as it's interdependence, as long as it's something that you can do on your own and you're choosing to allow someone else to be on the same team as you and to show up for you. And that you would do this also for them and you would also do this for them in other ways. So it's like, you're working together as the same team. And that is so beautiful. And I just feel like if we all started doing this way more as a collective, like we would just feel better. We would feel like more excited about life, like I'm already excited about life, but when I have someone on the same team as me and we're like doing life together, it just feels like I'm on fire. Fuego, fuego, fuego. My Venus is in Sagittarius, which is fire. So I equate like love with very passionate, fiery everything. That's why I'm like, no more Virgos, please. What's funny is I keep attracting in Virgos into my life. Specifically ones on the same exact birthday, which I just find hilarious. The man that's coming over right now has the same birthday as my last two partners. So life is funny. I don't really understand. If you're an astrologer and you understand more of why this is, can you please let me know? I'm here for the downloads. Okay, I'm going to go. I hope you guys have a beautiful day, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye.